Hey guys, it's Chris again, and decided I'd do a story on my experience in LARPing. I used to play Vampire the Masquerade, and this was 17 years ago, and about that, maybe 15, or maybe 17. So I used to play Vampire the Masquerade, and nothing prepares you for playing LARP like playing LARP. Now, and I've seen a lot of people critique playing playing live action role playing, and I have a lot of the main complaints that they do, and it's no joke. That was literally kind of my experience too, and LARPing is extremely political. And I'm not saying the game, inside the game is political, because the game is political. I'm talking about the players, the storytellers. And I look, you know, the very first thing that I did was I made a character. And I decided, you know, I would join this LARPing community because I used to wait tables way back when. And this group of like 40 or 50 gamers would come in, and they kept telling me, you know, because I was really, I played Dungeons and Dragons, played GURPS, I played everything. But, you know, but I never played LARP, and we used to make fun of people that played LARP as, I'm not going to go into detail about that, you know, but, you know, it really wasn't, my cup. You know, I feel like it was my cup of tea. But these guys, they kept coming in, and they kept trying to convince me, hey man, you need to come down there one time. You need to come down there. You need to come down there. You need to come down there. So I went ahead and got the books, and you know, and decided I was going to go ahead and make a character. Well, so I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what did I want to make? So I went ahead and made a Toreador. Now, more specifically, I made a Warrior because that afforded me two things: the ability to have decent combat and the ability to be charismatic. And I wanted to do both. And there was something that I just didn't see coming when I made the character, and that was that. And I know this is going to offend somebody out there, and I'm really sorry when I say this and everything, but some LARPers are dicks, and they are. And I have stories? I mean, I've never met people that I wanted to punch in the face quite like, you know, that I met in some of the LARPing community. And I'm not saying all of them. There are some really cool LARPers out there, and I meant like really cool LARPers. I mean, I knew a guy who he studied acting. He wanted to be an actor, and a lot of people that are studying acting wanted to be actors, and they go to LARPing, and they can really role play. I mean, you want to meet some good role players, you're gonna find them in the LARPing community. But LARPing is extremely political, and so I give you a great example. So I made this Warrior, and so I'm coming into the city, and so I go meet the Primogen for the Warriors, or the Toreadors, and there is, I want to say there was like 8 Warriors or 8 Toreadors there, and none of them spoke to me. I mean, I met the Primogen, and, you know, blah, 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 you know, we did, you know, you're in the city, blah, 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 and everything, and then that was it. And I realized that, and this is going to sound so wrong, but the least charismatic people at the game were Toreadors. And I'm I'm not kidding. The least charismatic people were Toreadors. And it's almost like they wanted to be charismatic in real life and they couldn't be charismatic, so they were going to be charismatic in the game, and then they couldn't manage to pull it off. And I you know, I hate saying negative stuff like that about people, but and this is my own subjective experience. Your experience is obviously probably going to be way different than mine. This is my personal experience. But in my personal experience, the Toreadors that I met were anything but Toreadors in real life, and they could not pull it off in the game either. They were all recluses. It was like I gathered 10 people that never left their house, and I stuffed them into a room and that had every type of shy handicap you could have and put them into one room, and it just wasn't working. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get any role-playing experience here in my group. So I go out and I'm like, let's go make friends with the Ventrue. And so I knew some of the players out of the character and everything, but you know, and this is where the game itself gets really political. And this is not the players in itself, but it's the game itself gets really political. And Ventrue don't really hang out with Toreadors. You have to have a good, legitimate reason for them to do so. And so it was really hard, and they had a lot of plots going on, and the storytellers were following them around with their very individual plots and trying to be able to get involved inside this plot. You know, even as a minor person, was like pulling teeth. And so I'm like, this sucks. And so then I got lucky on one of the game sessions, and so now, granted, I played in this game for months. I probably could have became one of the most powerful vampires in there. I probably could have just literally eaten vampires, and no one would have ever known it because I was nobody. I could have done whatever the hell I wanted to in the game, and nobody would have known because I was no one. And you know, like, no one would have been looking for my dark, you know, shadow, the tentacles and everything in my aura, because nobody would have known me and nobody would have given a damn. And so I ended up, they had a storyteller, and this guy's a fantastic role player. And so I'm like, I wanted to get involved in something. And so I ended up, you know, getting a role-playing point this night and everything because I found a chance I could role-play. And there was a storyteller for me to roleplay, and so I got an extra point that night. But I ended up leading a mage to my damn house, so I ended up putting myself in danger. And it just trying to be able to roleplay in the game was just it was really hard. So you know, this is after the game, and so I met up with some other guys, and so I tried to hang out with the Brujah. The Brujah, they'll tolerate you so much and everything, and I was playing a Warrior, so they tolerated me so much and everything, and then so finally, you know, out of character, the guy there is like, dude, this is, you know, I know what you're going through, I see what you're going through, and I've seen you out here for months, and you know, you can't get into any role playing, and you know, we tried to talk you into coming out here, and nobody, you know, this is just, you know, this is bullshit what you're going through. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can make you a new character and make you a Brujah. So we talked to the main storyteller, and he agreed. We petitioned it. He agreed, and I was able to go back and make a Brujah. And the Brujah were great, because the Brujah were large in number, and the Brujah were very, your Brujah. So I ended up making this Brujah, and from there I was able to do some serious role-playing. And I was able to finally get myself in a clique. Now, I played this game for 6 months at least before I got to this point, and trying to actually get myself into a clique where I can actually do role-playing events and be able to do stuff and be able to was a nightmare. And we're talking about like this game housed like 50, 60 people. You know, there was a ridiculous amount of people. There were 6 storytellers. Nobody, trying to find people to talk to and play with and everything was very, very hard because how cliquish the people were playing this game. And like I said, your experience is obviously going to be different than mine. But my personal experience playing for over 6 months, I played over a year, and playing over a year, making a lot of friends in this game, and I feel very confident in saying what I'm saying as far as like what I was doing with the game. I feel very confident in this because I played over a year and I played with like 60 different players, and so I have a fairly good idea on how this goes. And the game is extremely political. It's very hard to get into a plot line. Um, I'm not talking about the game itself being political, because it is, and that definitely brings its own difficulties within clans. But the players themselves are extremely cliquish. It's literally like revisiting high school, and not everybody's like that. There were really cool people there. There were a lot of cool people that you could role play with all day long, and they would talk to you and everything. But they were the minority. The vast majority of the people and everything were not like that. It was very hard to get involved, and you had to literally get involved in a plot line that forced them into it and everything, and you had to get into their little clique of friends. And there was so much freaking drama at these games. I meant like ridiculous. Oh my god, I cannot tell you how much drama that people brought to these games. There was there was a girl who, I guess this guy wasn't paying child support, and she would make like a huge deal. And I'm not saying that the guy shouldn't be paying child support, but she would intentionally bring this whole matter to the game, and then the STs would have to get involved, and they'd have to threaten to kick her out and stuff. And it was just, I'm not saying take a side, versus the guy that's not paying child support, take the side versus the girl, but you're coming here to play a game, and it's, it's really awkward if you're standing out here and there's 2 people having a fight over child support. I'm not kidding, you know, and, are people fighting over who had sex with who, and, you know, I remember this one girl, and I thought she was cute, and I hit on her, and I have to say, out of all the girls I've ever dated in life, she is hands down my greatest regret. And so I ended up I ended up talking to this girl, and at the time I had a child, and she said something along the lines of, she wouldn't be interested in me because she didn't want all the drama of having a kid and everything. And at that point right there, my kids come first. The hell to hell with you. If you don't like kids and everything, you know, be gone from my sight and everything. I have nothing to say to you. Everybody to each his own. You like kids or you don't like kids. That's you. But I would never get into a relationship with someone who has a problem with my kids. My kids come first. And so we ended up going out, and I ended up running back into this girl, and she said, and we had a couple drinks, and she was hanging out with these other guys. I guess these other guys that were interested in her, and she tells me, she's like, well, why did you and I never start dating? And I said, well, because you didn't like my kids. My kid. I think I had a kid at the time, You know, you didn't like the fact that I had a kid. And she's like, oh, no, no, no. You know, my problem isn't that. It's like, you know, I'm juggling college. I'm doing this and everything. I just got a relationship where, you know, I was dating this guy, and the guy had a child, and I ended up having to do more. And I ended up having all that responsibility from his child put on me. And that was very recent when that happened. And you had just talked to me about that, and, you know, and all this other stuff and everything. And I, you know, and even then when she said this, I, I, I didn't want to get involved with her at all and everything, because, you know, anytime something that happens in a relationship prior to that with that person, and they tell you that story, you can bet your bottom dollar that that stuff's going to happen to you. And so I I told her no. I told her no 15 ways from Sunday, but she basically begged me. And you know, I used to be a better looking guy some 15 years ago. Um, but she basically begged me, and so I ended up reluctantly getting with this girl, and I dated this girl from, and the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because she had so much drama and baggage, and then she'd talk about everything during the game, and like it became this huge dramatic thing where my relationship was like was on display at the gaming thing, and because this girl talked about everything that you could possibly talk about, you know, and you know my whole life was starting to be put on display, and it just like there's so much drama that I experienced in there, and which it, you just you over time you end up learning the people to avoid altogether. You you learn to avoid them. My personal people that I role played with on a regular basis were awesome. Um, those guys, the my old Bruja guys, they were awesome, and they were great role players too. And the Primogen and everything, phenomenal role player. We all became really close friends, and really got into our characters, and it was a great experience and everything. But so many of the people that were in the game, it was so dramatic. There was always some stuff going on, and you know there's so much area for you to find someone that you don't like. I remember there was a girl, and one of her family members or somebody very very close to her was undergoing a life-saving operation, and she needed like an organ transplant or something like that. And this girl is broken down, tear-streaked eyes, red eyes, you know, and she's trying to generate money for this person. And she ended up cycling through the group beforehand, and then at when we all met up at Denny's or something like that, we used to meet up at the end of the game. She cycled through everybody to make sure that she got everybody, and this guy stands up in the center of the restaurant and starts cussing her out, and he, you know, you've already came over here once, blah blah blah. I don't care about your effing family member and all this other stuff. And in the center of the restaurant, and so we've this guy is cussing this girl out who's got a family member or somebody close to her that's dying, and she's trying to generate money and everything to save their life. If you have an asshole meter, buddy, you just broke it. You know, you just took it to a level that you I would be so ungodly embarrassed to look back on my life and have that experience where you're that big of an asshole that you can cuss a girl out that's trying to generate money to save someone's life that's close to her. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. And this is the type of drama that I dealt with in these type of games. And it was just like, you know, if you have sex with one person, everybody's gonna know. If you know, and there's going to be all this kinds of weird connotation and stuff. So, it, in my experience of playing LARPing, um, I'll never do it again. Not unless it's a small group and it's consists of close friends of mine. But I can never bring myself to get involved in one of those games again. Um, just because of the simple fact of, you know, I've been there. I spent like over a year in it, and I would just never do it again. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have had experiences like that, and I'm sure a lot of you have had experiences that are nothing like that. You know, but that's my personal experience with LARPing, and why out of all the games out there, I would never do it again.